Ooh, get this one going. Jen Amos, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks, Ryan. I'm very happy to be here and just excited to see where this conversation goes.
Yeah, I know. Like we were just saying, it's like let's just talk and see what happens. So I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah.
I guess just start out like what do you do right now? What
Um,
does Jen Amos get into these days?
yeah. What are my shenanigans?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm an entrepreneur. I've been an entrepreneur for about a decade now. I'm currently on my third business venture that I'm willing to say out loud because, as an entrepreneur, you make a lot of mistakes and things just don't go your way. So I'm going to say three that I'm willing to talk about. And starting summer 2019, I got into podcasting because I'm fairly new in the East Coast. I lived in San Diego, California for 20 years. And then prior to that, I was a military child for 10. But anyway, when I came out here, I was looking to reinvent myself. And I guess podcasting kind of became that vehicle to not just, like I said, reinvent myself, but also to find a sense of community out here and even online. And I'm actually really glad that happened before the pandemic because, I feel like I was set up for success. Like by the time 2020 hit and the pandemic hit, and we all have been, told to be at home, podcasting was really like, it was more than just for business and kind of reinventing myself, but a sense of community, and mental health. Like I think for mental health reasons, it was great to, talk to people who are still like, trying to be movers and shakers in a weird time. So anyway, that's a little snapshot. Just entrepreneur stuff and podcasting is basically what I do for work, I guess.
Nice. Well, I can't wait to get into some of that stuff because I'm curious to see like what yours is about. But military kid, like what was that life like growing up? Like was that like full on from as soon as you can remember? It was like military.
Yeah. So my parents are formerly from the Philippines, and my dad was, I would say, pressured by his dad, my grandpa, to join the military because I come from a family of farmers from both my mom and my dad's side. And I think my grandpa I never met him, but I think he just kind of told my dad that you would have better opportunities if you join the military. And he actually joined before the military bases there shut down in the Philippines. So it was actually kind of perfect timing for him to join. And then I was born in Yokosuka, Japan Naval Base. And pretty much my life from there was, I guess, transient in a way. We moved every 2 to 3 years, mainly from Japan to California, though, which I was pretty fortunate about. Like I didn't
Out
have
of
a lot of
all the places you could have landed, like
yeah, I was like, hey, this is not bad, like I'm cool with this. But yeah, we kind of moved back and forth from Japan to California every 2 to 3 years. And then my dad was about 18 years into his service when and I was about 10 years old at the time when I guess I guess Japan was supposed to be his last duty station before he retired a full 20. Well, unfortunately, we had lost him during that time back in 1998. He actually, his ship, the USS Kitty Hawk, was going from Japan to South Korea, and all of a sudden he went missing. So they sent a search crew to find him for 3 days to no avail, and they continued the investigation for 3 months. And by then, they just kind of dropped it, and our life just catapulted back to civilian life. And so I lived in San Diego, California for 20 years after that, and then met my husband who's a veteran, and he's actively involved in the military community, and I'm here like, I don't want to be involved in the military community again. It took my dad,
right.
But he warmed me up to it, or he warmed me up to it, and here I am today. Like part of the work I do is working with military families, and it's like therapeutic and self-healing actually in a way, but I can get into that later. That's a little bit about my background as a military child.
Yeah. Holy shit. Like that's about your dad. Like
That was a lot.
that's some heavy shit. Like that's some
Say the
real heavy
least.
shit, man. Like
Yeah.
that's man, sorry you had to go through that because that's definitely rough.
Yeah,
Uh,
thank you. I appreciate that.
yeah. Yeah. When you so going to and like right after that happened and going into like civilian life, like what was that transition like after I'm sure it was an emotional shit show.
Yeah. We don't filter anything on the show, huh? I love it.
No.
Yeah. So it was interesting. I felt like as a military child, I think I was always trying to find my footing, like wherever I was at. And by the time we transitioned out and moved to San Diego, I just became really like apathetic and complacent when it came to friends. Like I would only like the kind of friends like I didn't make friends. They like found me and picked me. And I think part of it is not because I'm popular. Like it was really because I had this knack for like listening to people. Like I just naturally like would listen and validate them. Like I don't know where I got that from, but I think that was like my way of feeling accepted or something. And however, Ryan, though, that ended up attracting a lot of narcissists in my life. So, you know, these people like felt like they were full of themselves because I was there enabling them and validating them. I had experienced bullying in middle school, and that eventually prompted me to what was it? I'm trying to think about that time. Yeah, it was a really shitty time to say the least. And like even when we moved to San Diego, I went to two different elementary schools, and before I could find my footing, middle school happened, and then before I could find my footing, high school happened, and then I moved to another high school. You know, so I just constantly felt like it was hard to find my footing. And like I said, I became very complacent with friends and stuff like that. It was really like later in life when I started to kind of accept the fact that like this is my life. Like I'm never going to find my footing in the way that I think I am, so I'm just going to embrace my life like the way it is. And I have to give credit really to my upbringing, because it's made me the entrepreneur I am every day, or the entrepreneur I am today. Because being on my third business venture, if you break down 10 years of that, or if you divide that, you know, by 10 years, I pivoted every 2 to 3 years, just like the military, you know. But anyway, I know I'm getting ahead of myself, you know. Yeah, it was hard being with friends. And in addition to that, Ryan, I had experienced abuse within my family on many different levels. And so my definition of family became really tainted. And so it was hard. Like I felt like I didn't have a safe space at home. It was hard to have a safe space, you know, even in school. And so I actually resorted to the internet. I made online friends. And kind of crazy to think that today, I mean, actually for about 5 or 6 years, one of my businesses was online marketing, you know. And I think I just had this natural knack because it was familiar to me. Like that's how I started to make friends. Like back in middle school, when I'd ask for a pass to go to the computer lab, and I would just make friends on there. So anyway, that's a little snapshot. I'm like talking a lot, so I'm going to pause. But yeah, that's a snapshot of like my upbringing and my friendships and all that crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's like yeah, wherever you go, you don't get a chance to just chill the fuck out for a second, because it's like, you know, stuff
Yeah.
going on at home, and then like you saying, getting bullied at school, it's like, where do you go? And it's like, online. Okay.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense.
Hmm.
Wow. Did you actually did you serve at all yourself in the military?
No, I didn't. It's funny because my mom was always encouraging it. She's like, "Oh, hey, you're getting a bachelor's in college. You know, you could become an officer in the military, like afterward." And I was like, "Mom, like, did you forget what happened? You lost the love of your life, you know." But my mom, she's always her mentality. I think this is where I got like kind of the desire to find my footing was through her, because she
Ah,
was always try to instill that sense of stability. She was like, "Oh, like get a stable job, like the military is stable." I was like, "No, it's not."
no.
I was like,
No,
what
no,
are you
no,
talking
no,
about?
no.
Like
What is
we moved around every 2 to 3 years. You know, you didn't see dad months at a time. Like, what are
Yeah,
you like, mom? Like, what are you talking? I love my mom, by the way. Like
yeah,
I can have pretty candid conversations like this with her. So that I'm not saying anything new, but I'm just like,
yeah.
what like, did you forget like what happened like to our family? But anyway, it's no, I was very resentful, to be
Okay,
quite honest. I
that
was
makes
like, come on, like I'm not gonna join the military. Like it's unstable. And actually it gave me an odd view of working, because to me, I associated that kind of stability, like my dad served for 18 years. I interpreted that as death. and so it was hard for me to actually hold a job for in my young 20s. I got fired from 4 jobs because any moment I felt stability, like I think my
Like,
mindset was like,
no,
oh
no,
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 I'm gonna
no, no, no,
die.
no.
Like, yeah, something's gonna happen to me. And so I think again, like my upbringing really conditioned me to like just kind of embrace chaos in a sense, and change, and why I think I got into sales and I got into business for myself, because anything that just feels stable or is perceived to be stable, it equates to a form of death to me. And I was like, I mean, trust me, Ryan, I didn't really know this till later in life, but when I look
Oh
back I was
yeah.
like, that's why I couldn't hold a job, because I was afraid I was going to die. Like real
Yeah.
talk
And
there.
you're looking at it like once you, man, it's so interesting when you open up some of those doors and then you're
Yeah.
just like, oh, wow, I did not know that that was in here, but it made a lot of stuff click for me just now that would have made a lot more sense at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it makes so much sense though. The way that you're describing it, it's like, yeah, of course this would be the like a route that one would go after having that kind of shit come up. Like, yeah,
I love the word of today is shit.
this
But
shit, this
yeah,
shit,
no,
you
you're
know.
right. It's like yeah, I eventually arrived to a place I was like, you know what? Like this is just my life. Like I will never achieve like whatever level of stability that's been so idealized and, put on a pedestal. Like I'm just not. And even if I try, it's not in my nature.
Yeah,
So, and it even reflected in so many other aspects of my life. Like I have a diversity in friends, diversity in projects, just, like it's just like that's just the result, I think, of being raised as a military child and then losing dad. And kind of it's like I had to find family within myself. I had to be
yeah,
my number one adult ally, because the one thing that my dad gave me is he did give me emotional support and undivided attention. And after that, I lost that. And so,
yeah,
talking about like issues growing up, I had abandonment issues. Like the moment I felt like someone would give that to me, I'd like run away, because it's like, no, you're gonna die. Like you're gonna die if like you're giving me undivided attention. Like I don't trust this. It's like I no, I don't. So I kept very like light relation. I kept my relationships sort of at a distance, or I would have a lot, but not go any deep with those relationships, kind of in that fear, because of that fear of like, if this is real, like I'm gonna lose you. So anyway, it's a sad story to tell, but if I tell it enough, it's funny.
yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, we got to laugh to keep from crying sometimes, right?
yeah, I think I've definitely picked up humor as a good coping mechanism. And I also like, I mean, I like humor also because like it makes other people feel less comfortable about my tragic life. Like if I'm just sitting here, I'm like, yeah, Ryan, so I lost my dad, and like, and then I like shed a tear or something. It's like, well, how are you going to respond to that? It's like,
Yeah,
no,
people
I'm
like
gonna
shit. Yeah, there's that word again, shit.
yeah, and
Um,
I'm not trying to minimize like my life. I am very fortunate to have received a lot of help. Like I have a lot of support in my life. I'm actively in therapy. And I mention all that because I think that everyone can use like their pain and their trauma for something good. Like I do believe
yeah,
that. I believe that we're put on this earth and we're given certain circumstances to help those who are maybe a couple steps behind us, that are looking for that beacon of light. And I think you could be that beacon of light. So I think that if I can just talk more and talk about like my story and everything, I hope to find someone out there that's like, I mean, I hope that it impacts even just one person to be like, wow, like I know what it's like to lose a dad at a young age. I mean, I actually connected with this lady. She lost her dad when she was I think 8 or 10 years old. I think probably 8 years old, during the 9/11 attacks. And so we were able to share something in common there, that we both lost a parent at a very young age. And so just to be able to connect on that level is very profound, and a good reminder that we're not alone. And that's really what I hope to accomplish in everything that I do, is just to remind people like we all go through shit. Going on with that word, continue on with the word of the day. We
yeah.
all go through shit, and if we all realize that we all go through shit, then maybe we can go through shit together.
Hey, there you go. There you go. That's very commendable to take that approach, because we're all dealing with it, some level of pain or trauma, or like something that has happened in our lives.
Yeah.
If we can't like it, I agree with you. It's very important to find some sort of a sense of humor in things. Even if it does end up being a dark sense of humor every once in a while, I think it's something that helps us, you know, be able to not get too far down that spiral of like darkness.
Yeah. For sure. I that I've already tried that. I've already tried just being depressed and sad.
Yeah.
And one, it wasn't fun. And two, it's like it didn't really foster like community with anyone. It's like no one wants to be around a sad person. Like I mean it sounds like really sad today, but it's true. You don't want to be around that person that sort of dims the lights in the room. And I'm always like having lived that transient life, as a military child, and then like not being able to find my footing, once we even settled in San Diego. Like I've just sort of learned to pick up skills on how to connect with people faster,
Uh,
trying to find that common ground faster, because like I said, I've already tried all the stuff that could put me down like a really bad rabbit hole, and it didn't take me anywhere. It didn't help anyone. And
yeah.
so, thank God for therapy and support groups and just good people in my life. I definitely had to work on that. I had to work on having the right people around me.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, a lot of my, family members I'm estranged to, because, at least in, Filipino culture, it's sort of like family is almost family almost equates to abuse. It's like, yeah, but they're family. You know what I mean? It's like even though they're treating you this way, it's yeah, but they're family. We're family. And it's just I hate that. So I'm actually in a place now where my sister and I are sort of going to start rekindling some of those relationships.
Okay.
But I've had to come a long way to like really look at my family as family, because I've just learned to have an adopted family, with people I connect with, friends, just other like surrogate parents and stuff like that. Because I had to. So
Yeah. 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 That's I mean, it's a really good point. Like you don't get to choose your family. And I think that gets yeah, in my experience, that's not just Filipino culture. It's that's a
good to
lot of
know. Good to
other
know it's
cultures of
universal.
being like, oh, it's just family, like family
Yeah.
over everything, and blood and like all this, and it's just like, yeah, to a certain extent, you can't
Mhm.
like just because they're family doesn't mean you should be treating people horribly. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't give you a free ticket to that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that abuse like trickles out, it trickles into your romantic relationships, it's like how you were treated. It's like for me, I think like I just think about I mean I'm trying to think about like how this related to my romantic relationships, like even just the loss of my dad. I was attracted to like unavailable men. Interesting. It's like how isn't that interesting that my dad wasn't always around, he was gone months at a time, and I was like, oh, I guess that's the kind of love I deserve.
Mhm.
And also just with kind of the abuse in the family, where it's like you just have to forgive them because they're family. It's like I would cope with certain things in my relationships, not just romantic but even platonic, just because we're family. Even though they're not family, it's like I already translated that over. I assume that, oh, this is how you need to treat friends. You need to forgive them despite how much they screwed you over and blah blah blah. But later in life, I was courageous enough to start moving away from those types of connections and be smarter about like healthier types of friendships.
Yeah. 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 Oh man. Yeah, and groups of people that spend time together, it's like there's certain people every once in a while that get like grandfathered into it. And it's
Mhm.
just like they're once you start to notice, like, I don't like this, like you were talking about, like somebody who dims the room or somebody who changes the energy and everything, and you're just like, I don't want to be a part of this right now. I don't like this seems wrong, or like I don't mesh with this person, but you got so many people telling you it's just family. Oh, that's just such and such being such and such. And you're like,
Yeah.
no, it's not okay.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah. And
okay.
it takes a long time to realize that, right? It's I
A lot.
especially for everyone that has just has that kind of abuse, or to be more specific, like a lack of boundaries. I
Yep.
think amongst your loved ones, that really does translate into your adult life and into other relationships, thinking like, oh, it is love if they overstep my boundaries. Like this is normal, when
Right.
it's absolutely not normal.
Not
It's
at all.
not normal. It's not healthy, and you deserve better. But again, it takes a lot of work to get to that place. And it's really unfortunate when, like, I know someone who got out of a really long relationship, and they sort of described it as, I was asking like, oh, why did you stay with them for so long? And as they were describing it, I realized it had a lot to do with their own upbringing and how they experienced a lot of abuse. And it was just normal. It was normal to just put up with it.
Yep.
But now that they're out of that, they can sort of see that clearly. Not to say that they change though. Unfortunately, like when you go through form of abuse or trauma, like sometimes people just don't do the work to move past that and not hand it down to like the next relationship or even to the next kinship, because generational trauma is real. Like, if
Very
you
real.
have depression and you don't deal with it, it does get handed down like
Yep.
to, your next kin. So, just so I think it's important to be on top of that, but also be aware of the type of people who maybe have not resolved their own issues, and just kind of move away from them and be like, I love you, but I'm going to love you like from over here. Just like,
Yes, that's, I love saying that. It's like, I love you, but I'll love you. Well, you stay over there, I'll stay over here. Like,
yeah, yeah. Social distancing. It's a thing now. Now it's like even better. It's like, oh, cool. My boundaries are that much healthier thanks to the pandemic, right? Because it's like I don't have to physically see you. So
yeah,
um it is what it is. But it's an ongoing journey, and it's easy to say, hey, like that person isn't good for you, like you should move on from them, you should separate yourself from them. But just like working out, it's a process. Like you can't just
yeah,
cut someone off, otherwise you go back in, you go back into those types of relationships because you didn't do the work to work, to have that emotional strength and to build that foundation to move on. That's why I think a lot of people tend to like, you hear about those couples that like break up and get back together like endless times. Like I definitely was in one of those types of relationships in the past, and it's because they haven't done the emotional work to like
yep,
fully like move on. So
yep. Yeah, I saw a meme not too long ago that was saying some, oh wait, what was it? I just lost it. Where was I going with it?
like a meme about, let's see, I'm gonna try to help you out here. A meme about relationships,
Oh,
boundaries.
yes.
Okay.
It said something to the effect of, don't let temporary discomfort push you back into toxic relationships.
Mm,
Because that's a real thing. Because I think at the end of the day, like we all want connection. We all want to feel, good around the people that we're around, that love, the connection, the understanding. And if we're going through some sort of transition where we're trying to move away from those unhealthy patterns, and then it's just difficult to like see the light. There's
mhm.
sometimes we can like trickle back into it, because it's comfortable, it's what we
It
know.
is. It's familiar,
Yeah.
right? And like we are human beings are all about being comfortable by nature, I
Yeah.
think. Like we like no matter how bad a relationship is, we'll go back to it. Or even if you've distanced yourself, you start to have those rose-colored lenses, and you're like, oh, you know what? Maybe it wasn't so bad, right? And yeah, it's all about. It really takes a lot of inner work to establish a new form of familiarity, like a new normal for yourself to really like move on. And I mean, yeah, like I was with I call him my college sweetheart. Like I was with him for 6, 7 years. Like, we were very much on that path to, get married and stuff like that. But it wasn't a really good relationship either. Like part of why I was with him, he doesn't, I mean, I don't think he'll ever watch this, but if he does, now you know the truth. It's like part of why I was attracted to him is because I didn't love him deeply enough to like to fear losing him, if that makes sense. Like he
Mm.
was just kind of an easy guy to be there. Like we always forgave each other if we like did things, and it just seemed like constant. It's like you may not be healthy for me, but I know you're not going to like die, or like you're not someone that scares me enough that I want to flee, so it was a very complacent kind of relationship, if that makes sense. And as I started to become, I don't know, like more woke, I don't know what they say nowadays, like as I started to have this revelation of like, okay, this is not healthy for me. Like this is not healthy for me to just be with someone because, similar to like my family, that he just forgives for everything, and it's familiar. I got to a point where like I was more like I was how do I explain it? It was very interesting because like I really thought that my life was going to end when I broke up with this person. But I was more like I was more I'm trying to think of like a really good word, something like it was more important for me to like explore the unknown and the possibility of something better
Mhm.
than to stay with something that was so familiar, if that makes sense. Like I had to get to that place where I mentally really felt like I had to take that leap of faith, not knowing what my future was going to look like, because I was with this guy for so long. I lost my virginity to him, so therefore I thought I was supposed to stay with him,
Yeah.
and it was truly scary to make that shift. Long story short, I'm so glad I did that. He's happily married, like I'm happily married, and my life, like honestly, like I would have not wanted to like continue to like it, with everything I went through after him. I'm glad he wasn't a part of it. I think he would have. It sounds really like messed up to say, but like I just got to this place where it just wasn't fulfilling me anymore to be with him, and I knew it was a disservice for both of us to stay together, and I knew he wasn't going to break us up, so I had to do it, and like I had to do that responsibility. I'm glad I could be the one that said, yeah, I broke up with you. But anyway, I feel like I just like went off a tangent.
That's okay. Tangents are fine on this. They're completely fine. Um, yeah, that's yeah. Relationships can definitely be complicated.
Yeah.
Especially with, the all the trauma that we grow up with. So it does take some time to figure yourself out for sure.
Mhm.
Did entrepreneurship help you with that? Like going into that world, that crazy world of trying to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, what I love the most about entrepreneurship is you're constantly challenging yourself to be a better version of yourself. That's what I love about it. It's like you have so many opportunities to grow and to explore different sides of yourself you didn't know existed. A lot of what you do in entrepreneurship is kind of make shit up as you go. I had to say shit. We haven't said it in a
Yeah.
while. So.
I
Yeah.
in my head now, I'm like, if I notice I'm about to say say shit, I'm like, oh man, it's the word. I'm focusing on that word today.
Yeah, that's our word today. Yeah, it'll be like this ongoing joke now between you and I, Ryan,
Yeah, there we
whenever we
go.
meet in person and talk about things. I'm just gonna say, ah, shit, like just
Yeah, she's
um
again.
yeah. Yeah, but as an entrepreneur, I mean, there's different types of entrepreneurs. I think for me, like the way that I was an entrepreneur was I created my second business out of nothing. Like I didn't have any like tools, or I mean, other than my laptop. Like I ran a social media marketing agency for some time, and I
Okay.
literally, like what I would do is I would kind of pitch my services, and then I'd put together a proposal, and then if they move forward with it, I was like, okay, how do I do this now? It's like, how do I find the right team to make this possible? And it's kind of like, yeah, it's kind of like a fake it till you make it thing. At the
Yeah,
time, which eventually led to imposter syndrome, by the way. I don't think anyone should tell themselves to fake it till you make it. It's not good for your mental health, by the
it's
way.
a very, very, very horrible approach to this stuff.
Yeah, yeah. But anyway, I just winged it, like, and I really, although it did cause a lot of anxiety to do that, at the same time, it was thrilling. It was thrilling to know that, like, oh, I didn't have to get like a master's degree or PhD. Like I didn't have to continue to stay in school to like make my own income. Like I was making more money. Like I remember there was like a good 3 years where I like doubled my income like 3 years in a row. And at one point I was making more money than what my boyfriend at the time, my college sweetheart at the time, was making at his job. And I wasn't working as much as he was. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And so it's fun. Like it's fun. And it's challenging. Of course, I'm not going to romanticize like entrepreneurship. It is really, really challenging, especially when you don't know how you're going to pay your bills next month. Which is why I very much appreciate having my husband today, because one thing I learned on this journey is you shouldn't do it alone. Like no one's going to give you like a badge or like a medal for being like, oh my gosh, you're the most independent person I know. Here's a medal. Well, let me tell you, when you do things by yourself, like no one's going to be there to give you a medal. You know what I mean? Like who's going to give you that medal? No one's going to pop out of nowhere and be like, oh my gosh, I've been watching you. You're so independent. You're so strong. Here's a medal. It's like, no, like that will never ever happen. Like you have to do things with people. You do need help, and so it's nice working with my husband, because we have that balance. Like on days where he's maybe not as motivated, like I'm motivated, or we complement each other. And the problem with the issue I was having with my college sweetheart, because I did start to contract him for a little bit, was like it just was like he was for a job more than like wanting to create something. Like at one point he was even trying to like increase his price. I was like, what are you doing? Like, I'm the one that's going out there doing the marketing, like bringing in the business, and you're increasing, like you're trying to ask for more money. And it's like, hey, like I'm like, you eat what you kill, and but I was feeding him what I killed, you know what I mean? And I mean, figuratively speaking, I've never killed anyone, just for the record, but just like, yeah, just kind of like that, where it's like my husband and I, we in our own way, like have made our own sacrifices and taken risk and that leap of faith. And so it's just so nice to do it with someone else, and also to have a team. Like you don't always, like for me, we contract, like I have a virtual assistant, and actually I have like 2 or 3 of them, and it's very affordable depending on where you're looking. I'm not, unfortunately, I'm not one to want to have employees. I feel like a lot of employees, at least in America, tend to be very entitled and, want more benefits, want more pay. And it's like, do you know how hard it was to create something like this? Like, do you even know? And so like, for me, it's like, it's hard for me to even consider ever, having like employees. Like I would rather work with like freelancers, or people who like want to like build, like grow in equity, or profit and equity together. Although that I've never like accomplished that successfully. So I guess that's probably not a good thing, but yeah, just people who are generally hungry and proactive and innovative. Like that's the type of people I like to work with, because yeah, I'm not here to babysit anyone. I'm not here, like that's not my place. Like
Yeah.
I don't need that.
Yeah. Like I remember coming from the because I didn't start this entrepreneurial journey of my own until the end of 2017. So I've been working traditional jobs up until then, and
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about getting the people to help out and who you're doing this with, because there had been multiple times over the years when I'd be talking with friends. I'd be like, hey, let's do something. Let's start something. Let's do this, let's do that. And we get into talks about it. And it's great to talk about it. It's fun. It's exciting. It's the idea that like this could be something great and we can all like build this together, and then like just take vacations together and hang out together, and it'll be
Yeah.
fun. But when it's time to actually pull the trigger and do the little work, like, oh, we got to set up the email address, we got to get the website, we got to set up the social media. All right, what are the new trends coming out? Okay, what kind of content are we going to do? How are we going to tweak all this shit? When it comes to this, there it is again.
Yeah.
When it comes to this kind of stuff, it's like that's when you hear the crickets.
Right. When it comes to like the actual like implementation, they're like, wait, I thought you were going to do it.
Yeah, I
It's like,
thought the idea was that we were just going to end up there. It's like, yeah, that's an idea.
okay, so that reminds me of something, Ryan. Like, no joke, there was this guy who joined our startup a couple years ago now. It's crazy. And eventually, like we were wondering like why he was like so upset all the time and whatever. But he said something really like naive. He's like, I thought startups like make money. Like I thought that I was gonna get paid in a startup. And they're like, it's a startup. Like we don't have any money. Like we're not going to pay you early. We're not going to give you, I mean, unless we had like, venture capitalists or like investors, like,
Right.
like, no, we're not making money. How can you expect like us to pay you. Like this was real. And this guy left his job literally thinking that we were going to like replace his salary. It was really bad. It was really bad. So we don't work with him anymore, obviously. But I was like, really? Like, that's what you thought that we were going to pay you? Like, it's just so fascinating.
It's amazing to me the amount of stuff that you do have to vocalize after a while with people that you're like, oh, you thought it was magic. Okay. Okay, I get.
Yeah.
I was joking around with a friend of mine the other day. You know those like those website commercials, like the GoDaddy commercials or the Squarespace, where it's like drag and drop, and then get your products on there, and then like sail off
Yeah.
into the sunset because you have a successful business. I think that the general public think that's how it works. Like you go and you
Yeah.
get the website and all this, you don't have to find a source for the products, you don't have to do anything with the domain, you don't have to do
Yeah.
anything with marketing. You just think that, oh, you create a website and then just there's going to be flocks of eyes on your website, and it's like,
Yeah. It's like,
no,
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 it's not.
couldn't be further from
Yeah.
the truth.
It's interesting. Like, I even feel like what we're having right now is a very controversial conversation, because I feel like in the current landscape, or maybe always, I don't know, but like it seems like entrepreneurs have and business owners have always been sort of villainized in a way that, oh no, we're just in it for the profit and we're taking
Yeah,
advantage of our employees. And it's like a business wouldn't thrive if that was the case. You know what I mean? Like, and so it really, I wish I can like bridge that gap, for people who really just have that employee mindset, who never started a business themselves, but then they're here sitting here judging, us movers and shakers trying to create opportunities for you just so that you can have an opinion like that. It's like it's such an interesting divide, such a clear divide that unfortunately I feel like I've had to be quiet about it, and I guess like in a time in a very sensitive cultural, like polarizing time today with a lot of divisive rhetoric. It's like you kind of have to be mindful of what you're saying. Like you can't just speak your mind anymore. And
it's so
for
hard.
me, like, being a woman of color, you think that, oh, it's my time, I can speak up, but even I'm like watching, like I'm walking on eggshells, like knowing like what I'm allowed to talk about. It's like I'm an entrepreneur, so I definitely have very different ideas from the average employee who's never started a business. So but that apparently, like anything that may come out of my mouth might be controversial and wrong to say. So it's an interesting time, that it's like a delicate kind of dance we have to take in these times, in my opinion. I could be wrong. I don't know how you're doing there in California, but that's sort of how I've been feeling lately.
Yeah, I mean, I think my lens is a little bit different being a white male. Like I have like
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go.
I have a lot less I guess here's the word again, shit, that I have
I love
to,
this word.
you know, talking with other people over the years about just societal stuff in general. Like we are talking about like the like white male talking to a woman of color. It's just like our experiences are drastically different. It's like
Yeah,
I
my
don't think
husband's
people.
actually. Oh no, go ahead. Finish your thought.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I don't think people would see anything that I'm like going for or the stuff that I'm doing and be like, "Oh, you shouldn't do that." They're like,
Mm,
"Oh, okay, okay," But it's just like if it's somebody who's not a white male, it's like, well, should you be here? And
yeah.
it's like, yeah. So that's something that I have noticed. So I think,
Hmm.
um, for me. I don't feel any of the pressure of saying controversial shit. Like
Hmm.
because I guess I just don't really give a fuck, but I think that a part of that is because of, the fact that I don't really get like too much I don't see a whole lot of backlash.
Yeah. Well, good. Yeah, no, it's funny. My husband, excuse me, my husband is white, and so we have a lot of conversations around this, and it's quite fascinating to see his own experience and his own upbringing. Even though we both were born and raised in America, like our
Yeah.
experiences are drastically different. But then again, I also tend to focus on being colorblind sometimes. Like I do believe that we have more in common than we're
Yeah.
making it out. And I think that, stuff like, media and the news try to use, again, divisive rhetoric to make us feel like we're inherently different and that, and all that stuff. But I do like to believe the best in people. And I like to believe that people just aren't straight up racist, like I'd like to believe that there's good in most people and most people are just trying to understand. And so, for example, if people ask me like, what are you? Or like, where are you from? I usually eventually, like after I answer that, I ask them the same question. I was like, well, what are you? Like, where are you from? And it's funny when I ask like white people that, they're like, I don't know. I think from Europe, or like, I think I have some Irish. Like, it's so funny, like when I hear them answer that, because they literally don't know. And I was all like, taking a DNA test, maybe you'll find out, So just like learning to, kind of like return that in a funny way. And because I know like I know some of my peers can take real offense to that, to be like, oh, why are you asking me? Why are you making me feel like another person? And I get that at a very like intimate level. At the same time, I've learned that, you have to use your words to coexist with people. You have to have good communication and say like, well, what about you? Like, where are you from?
Yeah.
And it's just funny. Like it's fun after that. It's fun when you don't take it personally and kind of just return the favor. Be like, what are you? Where are you from?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah, I like to think that the people are good and want good for others. If anything,
mhm.
last year showed us there's quite a bit of racism that's still out there.
Yeah.
And just curious, what kind of stuff have you dealt with either in California or now living in the Midwest, being Filipino American woman?
I think I've been pretty lucky, to be quite honest. Like, I mean, I grew up like, so in San Diego. Most of the school system that I went through was a lot of like, it was very diverse. A lot of Hispanics, because we're close to the border, and stuff like that. And more, there's like more, but that stood out obviously because I live near the border, and everyone's like, you got to learn Spanish in order to be successful. And I was like, I can't. Like, I don't even know Tagalog. Like, I don't know my my dialect from my motherland. So no, I'm good. Like, I'm okay. Like, I mean, awful for me to say that I'm ignorant in that sense, but yeah, colored people could be a little racist or naive too, just so you all know. Like, we're not all of us are woke, and not all of us like one another just because we have the same skin tone. But anyway, no, I think I've been pretty lucky, but also pretty smart about my friendship. So again, going back to that like military upbringing, it's like you just know like who are good people to be around, And I definitely have had like some like microaggressions like here and there, but ultimately it never held me back. And I want to stress the importance of entrepreneurship, because I feel like entrepreneurship is the greatest equalizer. Like,
Mm.
very often I have friends who do, work a 9 to 5, or, work somewhere, work for someone else. And they'll mention that they'll say, hey, I got harassed, or, hey, I feel like an other here. I feel like I'm being tokenized. And I'm like, I hear you. I get that. Why don't you try to be an entrepreneur? Because maybe, it's like, I feel very fortunate that I've dodged a lot of that. And a lot of the work that I do today is to honor, like, I do have a podcast show. One of my podcast shows is called the Filipino American Woman Project. And it's a show focused on celebrating our diversity in our own community, because not all of us are the same. Like, Jamie, like, we both are completely different. Like, if you like really get to know us, and you're like, yeah, you guys are like Filipino, but like, you're like so different Filipinos, like there's a lot to you Filipino women than I thought. But I feel lucky that, one, I guess I was smart and intuitive enough to like dodge a lot of racism. And I think it's because I'm really good at I've been really good at building like good alliances, I guess, like, just being able to have a diverse group of friends, and really understanding other people's perspectives. Like, it was interesting getting to know my mother-in-law, who is a white woman, baby boomer, and I think on the surface, people would assume that she'd look at me and, like just start asking me all these like questions, like, what are you, where are you from and stuff. But like, her and the entire family, like my husband's family, they never made race a thing. Like they welcomed me in their home like so easily. And even when my husband's dad passed away, like they already treated me like family and included me at his funeral. And they asked me to give some words. And I was like, I just met this guy like twice, and you're asking me to give some words here, like as we bury his ashes. And so yeah, it's like I think I feel pretty lucky that I haven't been in a situation where I feel like my life is all about trying to prove myself and trying to make trying to create my own table. I mean, I have in my own way. When they say like, create your own table versus pull a chair up at the table kind of thing, like, I don't know. It's like, I feel fortunate, but I also feel like I was smart about it. And it goes back to that military upbringing of just being decisive and knowing who to, like have an alliance with. And of course I learned that the hard way growing up after losing my dad. But, today it's like, I mean, if anything, it works in my favor. People are like, oh, like there's a dark skinned woman here in a crowd of white people. She must be interesting, like, just like stuff like that. It's like, I'd like to believe that it works in my favor, but overall, I feel like I'm talking in circles now, but I do feel pretty fortunate that I've dodged a lot of that, I think. So,
Cool. What
yeah.
have you noticed from your podcast that's either been surprising or like a happy accident? Like, oh man, I didn't think I was going to get this out of it.
Yeah. So for that show specifically, the common theme I noticed with a lot of Filipino American women who've been on our show is that they don't feel enough of anything. They don't feel enough Filipino. They don't feel American enough. They don't feel like they are deserving of things. And so it's been actually quite fascinating to bring that to light with all of us. And we're like, oh, like you feel that too? Okay, well, let's figure out what to do from here. It's a lot of like, okay, you too, okay, let's figure it out. Like, what's the verbiage we can tell ourselves that we are enough. So that's been like the common theme I've noticed is like it's because there's also like mixed Filipinos in our community, like half white, half Filipino, half anything else. Actually we've learned to say, instead of half this half that, we say Filipino and American, for example. Like we've learned that you're not like you're whole.
Yeah.
So like that's an example of like
Okay.
finding the right verbiage to be like, you are enough.
Yeah.
That's your power, is that you understand the Filipino culture and you understand the American culture, and you kind of inherited this beautiful responsibility to bridge the gap between those two cultures and to thrive in this society. So that's the common theme I find, and it's really fun, like every time we have someone new, and again that theme of like I didn't feel like I was enough of this, I was enough of that. Especially a lot of my friends who have more like Eurocentric features, like they look more white than they do Filipino, and so they struggle with that, like, okay, I can come off as white passing, I can have that white privilege, but then I'm always going to feel like I can't fit in entirely anywhere, like I don't like or like someone who is like pale skinned but can speak like Tagalog fluently. It's like they were like, oh, but like people doubt that they can speak fluently because they don't look Filipino. So it's fascinating. There's so many stories, but I would say that's kind of the common theme, is coming together in all of our imperfectionists, not feeling enough, and seeing what we can make out of it. And we are nearing 100 episodes starting April. So April 2nd will be our 100th episode. And it's been a fun journey, to say the least.
Nice. Well, that's
Yeah.
cool. That's pretty cool. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
How many other podcasts do you have?
That's a good question. No,
that's one of them.
that's one of them. Yeah. No, I have another one for my work. It's called Holding Down the Fort, and it's an award-winning podcast. Actually, it was stemmed from. Thank you. It was stemmed from just my work with my husband and our team. We primarily focus on financial education for our career military families, such as like my family, who served for nearly 20 years, if not more. And we had found that, at least with our team, they were all veterans. So naturally they would attract veterans. But at the end of the day, when it comes to financial decisions, it comes down to the spouse. It's really like, let's say the wife, whoever is, shameless plug, holding down the fort. They're the ones who are really making those decisions for the household. And so the podcast came about because we wanted to bring more light to the issues that military families go through. They're really our silent warriors, and yet they're the reason why our service members show up to work every day. They're the reason why the service members have a home to come back to. And it's not just about serving the service member in the military, but serving the family, because a happy home is a happy service member in a way. And so that's how that podcast came about, is really bringing on the movers and shakers of our military community, and also for our community, with an emphasis in the military families and what their needs are today. And so that's really been a fun journey to kind of come back into the space, because as a reminder, I was a Gold Star daughter. I've been far removed from the military for 20 years. And then I met my husband and we're being involved in the military. And I'm like, I don't know what's going on in the military. So podcasting was really a great opportunity to interview people and see what are their needs today and how can our business support them. So that's been a fun journey. But yeah, that's my second podcast. I have like one more. And I guess I'll just share it really briefly. It's not really mine. I actually am hired as a host for the Thoughtful Entrepreneur. So this is a show where I get to interview or humanize, I like to say, entrepreneurs that are making anywhere from 6 figures and up. And so just kind of hearing their own journey. A lot of the stories right now revolve around how so many of them pivoted during the pandemic and how a lot of them have thrived. It's quite inspirational. But yeah, I joined that show about in episode 500. That's my debut. And that's been a ton of fun as well. Like nice. All of this is to say is that like I'm stuck at home, so why not? Like why not talk to so many different people? Why not? Like so yeah, those are my 3 main shows that are active right now.
Nice. With the military one, when you started that one out, did it bring up any sort of feelings or emotions or anything from the past, or were you at a place with some of the mental work that you had been mental and emotional work that you had been doing that it felt good?
Yeah, that's a good question. The show is definitely a healing experience for me. One of my episodes that I'm most proud of doing is the one where I told my family story and like what happened to my family, everything I mentioned to you at the beginning of our conversation. Yeah. This particular episode, it was hard for me to put together because I feel like I thrive better in like conversations like this. Like I'm not just like I'm gonna sit here and talk on my mic and have this be my soapbox. Like it's hard for me to just talk, but anyway, this was a hard episode for me because I did like script it out first. I had to really like unpack like my past and like why I chose to come back to the military community. And then I remember doing the first recording. I did another recording and then I did another recording like almost like a year later, and I just kept fine tuning it. Yeah. And so that was a very like therapeutic experience because I definitely like, I remember and even just writing it out, like I had to cry. I had to shed some tears and be like, wow, like this is my story. Like, God, what a tragic story.
Yeah, like for real.
Yeah. It's like being able to write that out. But what I love about it is it's like once you release it to the world, it's almost like you're essentially forgiving yourself for like everything that happened. Like not that I felt like I was blaming myself, but I definitely like I think I held it to myself for some reason, like maybe because that was like my way of holding on to my dad. But one thing I learned is that if I can put that out there, I'm actually honoring my dad in a more impactful way, because as I mentioned earlier, like one of the things that my dad gave me was just that feeling of emotional support and undivided attention. And I felt like if I can do that for other people, like I'm really honoring him. I'm carrying on his legacy for what he gave me. But part of the process was having to put that story out there, and I actually feel like I've been I think part of that is sort of maybe how I got a lot of my traction in the podcasting space, because at least in the military community, if there's anyone that does speak out, it's typically a military spouse, like someone who's just trying to find her identity or find their identity, because military spouses could be men too, but finding their identity outside of the military. And then sometimes, if anyone does pass, like it would be the gold star wife. Gold star meaning you lost a family member. So it typically be the wife that speaks out, but it's not very often a gold star daughter speak out and talk about what it was like to lose a dad in the military, So I think that is sort of the uniqueness I've brought into the military community, is shedding light to like, what happens, like really like the ramifications of war and sending people out to sea and all of that. It's like I can speak from that child perspective, which I think a lot of spouses and veterans have grown to appreciate. Like I've been asked to be on other people's shows and talk about my experience and the impacts of it. And sometimes I hear like these spouses say like, oh, like my child is becoming a lot like you, very like eclectic and decisive, and I can see my child growing up to be that way. And so I think that when they see me, they sort of see a part of themselves, or they see this sort of the future of their kids. And I'm glad to be that person. But again, it took me a lot to get to this place and be willing to talk about this, because there's a lot of gold star family members who don't talk about it, in all respects. Like they have their reasons. Obviously, you just lost a very important person in your family. Like, you don't just flaunt that. You don't just like talk about it. But for me, my self-healing experience, or the way that I heal, is by talking about it.
Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
I think it's healthy to, yeah. Eventually when you, and you feel that when you get to a place where it feels healthy, while you're going through it, you're just like, this is the worst thing in the history of the world.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard because, my sister, she was only 5 when we lost dad. So she really didn't know what it was like to parents, but I did. I remembered, and it's only in the recent years that she started to want to learn more about dad. So we've been interviewing family members and stuff, and we're coming to find that my dad had struggled with depression, like severe depression and suicidal ideation. And so it's interesting to like know that now. I'm glad I'm in a place where I can kind of receive that information, where it doesn't like impact me negatively or too negatively, but like, it's just interesting to know. I know I had another point about that, but like, I guess all of that say just kind of the impacts of like the military and like how that impacts families, and knowing that something like that does get handed down, because I definitely had struggled with that myself in the past. But to somehow know that made me not want to do that anymore, and it made me not want to consider that route, because it's like, oh, like life is too precious to do that, I think is what I'm trying to say. And I don't know, I think I had a point and I forgot, but I hope I'm making sense. Like, I hope I'm going somewhere.
You definitely are. Like this just makes me think of like just the overall importance of understanding mental health better when it comes to just every aspect of life, like relationships, what we're doing with the military, what we're doing with our jobs. Like it's a big deal.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I feel like there was one more point I wanted to make. I totally forgot, but anyway, it'll come to me if it comes to me.
It does. Yeah, if you're just randomly like talking about something else and just be like, oh, just jump right back into it. Well, I know one of the things that we were going to touch on was a couple hobbies that you got into last year with the pandemic. And I know we were, talking about all these podcasts you got going. You're like, well, I got time,
Yeah.
So what's some of the stuff that that you found last year?
Yeah. I think what the pandemic has brought, and it's I do want to just acknowledge like how it's been hard for a lot of people. Unfortunately, I do have a friend that recently attempted to take her life. She did not succeed, fortunately. Part of, I think, where that came from, though, because it was completely unexpected of her to do that. It seemed like such an impulsive act. She's had COVID for weeks, and they mentioned something along the lines of like, at least at the ER, they were telling the husband that told me all of this, that COVID, one of the symptoms is inflammation in the brain, and if you already had mental health issues, it just heightens those issues. And so she already had anxiety and insomnia. And so that, I think, that just made it even worse. And I think she just was just trying to, get rid of that pain in a way. She was also feeling like a failure. She felt like she was like letting everyone down. And so I just want to shed light to the fact that it is a hard time for a lot of people right now. And I do want to encourage everyone, to just check in with people, like just go through your text messages and see if there's anyone you haven't like spoken to in a while, and just say hi. Just say hi. Like I haven't texted, like you can literally just say hi. I haven't texted you in a while. I just wanted to check in. And you'd be surprised. Yeah, you'd be surprised at the response. I had a friend I called the other day. I was like, I'm just gonna call them because like why not? Let's see. Like I doubt they'll pick up. They picked up, and we ended up talking for an hour. And one of the first things they said was like, I don't think I've ever had anyone check in with me like this. And I was like, really? Like that sucks. I was like, I mean, I say that jokingly, of course, but it's like,
no, of course. I get what you're saying though, because it's just like, damn, this is so foreign.
Yeah. It was just like, I was like, God, I'm sorry. Like you don't have that kind of person in your life. I guess it's going to be me. But anyway, I say all that just to really acknowledge like how hard these times are now, and really just encourage people to just check in, that you can do that. It's free.
Thank you for starting it off with that, because there is, I think with this trying to get back to some sort of like getting away from COVID, the way that I talk about it, sometimes I know some people might internalize it as like, oh, he didn't give a fuck. And I'm just
yeah. I get it.
So I'm like, yeah, it's not that I don't give a fuck. It's just, I don't like to keep putting the focus on something that is just continuously keeping us in a really horrible place. So it's like,
for sure.
I do appreciate your acknowledgement at the beginning of this, because it is a reality, but I think we also, it's just, there's still life happening. There's still life happening, and we need to find the life that is out there, instead of focusing on all the all the negativity.
Yeah. And COVID is real. I also believe that these are highly exaggerated. Like I do believe that I do believe in some of the conspiracies, which is a conversation for another time. I don't want to get arrested. The whole like speaking, if anyone's ever curious to know like what this time feels like right now, just read the book 1984. It's an old book, I think, that came out after the Cold War, and it's really reflective of today's times. There's other books as well, but that one was a really impactful book for me. That was kind of like, wow, like that feels like history repeating itself. But anyway, that's just a hint there in case anyone is trying to understand like what I'm thinking about right now. But other than that, I'm not saying that out loud. If you say I thought that, like, no, you just read the book. You got that from the book. That's my way of protecting myself right now.
There you go.
But anyway, so all that being said, I think this time has really helped me focus on gratitude, and like knowing that I haven't gotten COVID, like I'm still in business, like I have my technology, roof over my head, like I know what I have. At the same time though, mental health is still really important. I do have therapy because you can go stir crazy being stuck at home. And one of the new hobbies, or two new hobbies that I picked up since the pandemic, is one, swimming. I found out that there's a rec center down. I mean, I always knew it was there. I don't like crowded gyms. Like I don't go to those. But anyway, the cool thing with the pandemic, thanks to the pandemic, you can actually reserve your lane in advance.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I think some gyms are doing that like all around, but I do know this one in particular. It's like you can reserve your lane. So you know that you're going to have a lane. I don't like showing up to a place and I see all the lanes are taken and then I feel awkward like sharing a lane with someone, you know?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but that's what cause for me, like doing weightlifting or like anything intense, it's like, it's not good for my joints. Like I don't like it. And I don't like feeling like, oh, I can have like instant success if I just do this for 30 days. It's like, no, I want to have an exercise that's sustainable and that is also therapeutic because the thing about swimming is, well, first of all, you can't take your phone with you in the water unless you're asking for it, you know, and secondly, it's like you really are just focused on, I say this jokingly, but like you're really focused on surviving, like not drowning yourself, you know, so just like the way you swim, like the way you know, you breathe, it's like, it's so important. And I know when people talk about meditation, it's all about your breath and like, you know, being where you're at. I can't just sit there like cross-legged and just meditate. I just don't know how to do that. But when it comes to swimming, it's like, oh, I can breathe. It's like it's very, very meditative to me. And my therapist actually affirmed that swimming for me is a form of meditation because I don't do the typical like, you know, put my hands together or like do this or I just, you know, it's like, no, I need to swim. So I really appreciate that. And even after our conversation today, Ryan, I'm going to go swimming. So,
Awesome.
so that'll be a fun way to end my day. And, the other thing I picked up or sort of revived is rollerblading. When I moved out to the East Coast, my what is it? So I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this because it's really important for dog lovers who leave San Diego.
Okay.
There is no place like San Diego when it comes to dog friendliness
At all.
because like,
At all.
yeah, does
None.
not like nothing ever will ever compare. So before you leave San Diego and you want your dog to be in a good place, like just really think about that because like for example, Fiesta Island is like the best, like literally the best dog park in the world because you have this whole beach to your dog and you can let him
Giant.
off leash. It's the best thing, right? And so, and then of course there's other dog parks, but that's like the best one. So out here though, they're actually really strict about dogs coming into public, you know, buildings. Like I remember even back in downtown San Diego, sort of like the donut bar, like it would say outside that your dog wasn't allowed, but like they had dog treats inside. They're like, oh, you know, come on in, you know, and we're like,
Ah,
oh, okay,
yeah.
you know, it's like totally, yeah, I'm coming in.
Yeah.
And but out here they really mean it. They're like, no, like dogs are not allowed like in these public spaces. And so I got into rollerblading because I needed to find a way to exercise my dog that didn't involve a
Ah,
beach where I can keep him off leash, you know, like because he'd run like, I don't know, like a animal, you know, like he would just go left and right and he'd run up and down the cliffs and I'd lose him in like the field of grass or, you know, whatever, you know, it's just like, he was just like all about it. He always had a good workout at Fiesta Island. But here it's like their parks, their dog parks are way too small for him. And then he gets really triggered, like he attacks other dogs. And you're like, okay, great. Now I got to take my dog out. It's like, how am I gonna like help my dog like let off the steam and this energy? Rollerblade is the
yep.
answer. And luckily he's really good on the leash with me. Some people are, I often I'll rollerblade and people will kind of say in passing, like to their friends, like, oh my God, I could never do that with my dog. And I was like, I can, you know, my dog loves being on the leash with me. And I mean, it definitely like, it's funny because I think the reason why he's so obedient on the leash is because he's afraid of like me, like running over him, you know, like he's afraid of the wheels. So I think that's part of why he's motivated to like be obedient. But one, he gets exercise and two, I get exercise.
Yeah.
And because we can't do a lot of indoor things, like this is perfect. It's like a win-win-win situation for everyone. But yeah, those are the hobbies that I've picked up during this time.
Nice. Nice. Well, we'll have to talk outside of this because I'm a meditation and mindfulness instructor. So,
Okay, okay. So I hope I didn't
but
offend you.
not at all. It's what you were actually saying is just something that I was just like, yeah, yeah. Like swimming is a form of meditation. Like
Yeah.
it's
Thank you.
there's
Thanks for
there
affirming that.
there are a lot of the and there I think it's just, you know, the common misconception with the meditation stuff out there is you have to hold this pose and cross your legs to do
Yeah.
meditation. It's like, no, that's not it at all. That's not it at all. So you're doing the damn thing. You're doing it right.
Oh,
You know,
thank
it's
you.
like
Thank
you're
you for
finding
saying
that
that.
place that you can actually find your zone, like get into a flow state. It's like that can be something
Yeah.
different for everybody.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've even had epiphanies while I was swimming. It's
Yeah.
like when you're just focused on one thing, like like a thought comes up, and also if I'm stressed that way that day, it's just such a good. I mean, they always say that exercise is a good stress reliever, but yeah, it totally is. Like it's just a way to unplug. And again, like I said, I wanted something that was like sustainable and wouldn't like hurt my joints. And
Yeah.
swimming is perfect for that.
Yeah.
The only thing I don't like is like on a busy day, they do pair you up with someone in a lane. And like literally last time, Ryan, like I was about to go swim, but then all I saw was like old retired folks like going in. And I was like, I don't want to share a lane with an old person. So then I totally sound like an ageist now. That's
I was
awful.
like,
I'm sorry.
ageism. Oh my God.
Yeah. I am so sorry, everyone. I'm just okay. Just full disclosure, I felt very uncomfortable being the only brown girl, like being in a pool with like old white people. Okay, in case you're wondering, that's what like made me feel a little insecure. But not it was funny because like my husband was making fun of me. He's like, just get in the water. I was like, honey, if you ever like went to a place and you were like the only white person, I don't know if you've ever, I mean, he's experienced it like once or twice in his travels, but I was like, if that's like part of your day to day, it actually is kind of jarring. It's a little weird to like kind of feel like the only person sometimes, and but anyway, that's it. That's the only reason why I turned around. And plus I didn't want to share a lane with anyone. That was actually really it. I was like, oh, there's too many people. I know I'm going to share a lane with someone. I don't want to go there. So that's actually the prime reason, but not because I'm like an ageist or like, like that, because it just so happened. I was like, it just didn't help.
Racist, and I can't believe you, Jen.
Yeah, it just didn't help. You know what I mean? It's like, no, but really, I don't like sharing. Like I'm a middle child. I shared a lot in my life. I don't want to share things. Like I'm an adult now. Like I deserve my own lane.
Frankly, like some of the comments that you're going to get from old white guys in that situation, I would want to avoid that as well. So like I don't
Yeah.
because I've heard old white dudes in the locker rooms and shit and talk. I've been in the rooms. I know how they talk. I know how they, look at women sometimes, and it's just like it's just creepy as hell.
Yeah.
So I get it. And
well, thank you for sharing that perspective. I didn't want to think I was fully racist here.
no, it's definitely not. And I think some people will hear it and be like, oh man, that's fucked up. Why is she saying this? Why is she? No, there's a reason, because there's like creepy ass white dudes that go to gyms. They're everywhere. Like it happens. It's not all of them. No,
No.
but it's you don't know when you're getting into a pool that's filled with these dudes. So,
yeah. So I mean, I'm sure they were all good people. I just, just in that moment, I made a split decision. I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go back and get my dog. Like, it's fine. Like, and it worked out just fine. Yeah, it worked out just fine. I got my exercise in, and I moved on with my day, and it's fine. Yeah.
Oh man, is there anything else that you wanted to get into on this one? I know we've kind of gone in a few different directions, but yeah, it's seems like we touched on a decent amount of stuff for not having like a clear cut view.
Yeah. Well, I mean, thanks for just kind of giving us the space to see where this conversation goes. I feel like like you said, we covered a lot. I mean, anything in closing? I mean, I don't know. I feel like I need to say like
plug your like podcasts and anything else that you got going on right now that people may be interested in.
Yeah, I do want to share like one resource. So in case you're looking, so I don't get paid to talk about this, but this is a very fun card game for me, and I think for anyone that's looking to deepen their relationships with people and also just be a better like communicator and be more in touch with yourself. There's this card game. I don't know if this is going to be audio, but it's called We're Not Really Strangers.
Okay.
And it's a really cool card game. They have different variations, like if you're dating someone and stuff like that. There's whatever, but I like it because part of my passion in life so far, or currently in this season of my life, is I just really love trying to find common ground with people through conversation and storytelling to foster like connection, community, and collaboration. And, part of that is knowing what questions to ask. And so this is a really fun card game to learn, like, what are some questions you should really be asking people, to deepen those relationships. So that's just a fun resource I want to share. And they also have, I also like the name of it, like We're Not Really Strangers, just to kind of play that theme of like, we're not really strangers. Like we have more in common than than anything. And so it's just kind of having that desire to want to see that we have things in common and wanting to build that bridge. And I do believe that we all can do that, individually, and, not be so, let's say, swayed by media and divisive rhetoric to divide us. I mean, that's what divisive rhetoric is to divide us. But yeah, I do believe that we have more in common than anything. And the card game is a really good one. If you want to stay in touch with me, best place to find everything about me is my website, which is Jen Amos Creates, like the word creative, but just creates as in, is that a verb? Creates. I don't know. Anyway, Jen Amos Creates, JenAmosCreates.com. And on that website, you'll see what I'm currently up to, podcast shows I do, mental health resources. I recently did a presentation on 7 Cups, which is, again, I tend to promote a lot of things I don't get paid for, but anyway. Anyway, there's this free program, free platform called 7 Cups, which is an anonymous platform where you can just talk to anyone and everyone. And there are volunteers on there that are trained to care and to provide active listening for you. But I did a whole presentation about that recently. I think it's a good platform for people where they just feel like they can't even open up to their closest people in their life, their loved ones. Like, it's like I've been stuck in this house with my husband for almost a year now. And there's just some things that maybe I'm not ready to talk about with him because he's always in my space. But to have a platform where you could be a stranger, you can be anonymous, sorry, not a stranger. That sounds really bad. To be anonymous and really share how you're really feeling. I have that resource. I talk more about that. On my website in Jen Amos Creates under the Get Help section. But yeah, JenAmosCreates.com, you'll find everything. Like I said, social media links and stuff I'm working on. And, I guess in closing, I also just want to remind you all, I don't know who needs to hear this, but you matter, you're worthy, you're so needed in this world. And people need to hear your voice. They need to hear your story because you don't know whose life you'll save next. So I will wrap with that.
Awesome. And that is a beautiful way to end this whole thing. So
cool.
Thank you very much, Jen, for taking out time to do this today. Had a lot of fun talking with you.
Yeah, pleasure. Thanks again, Ryan.
Yeah, hope you enjoyed it, people. We are out of here. See ya.